Desert Tiger Podcast.
Awesome. All right. Let's kick this off. So we're here with two members of the Slime. All right, gentlemen, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves and what you do in the band?
My name's Derek. I play the drums.
I'm Andy. I'm the singer.
Awesome. So, before we get into this new EP, we should probably kick into how the Slime came together. What brought you gentlemen, you boys, this collection, this ooze of hardcore together? How did it begin?
I'll start this one off. Yeah. Me and Robert, who's the guitar player, have been playing together for about 5 or 6 years now. So we had a couple other bands, a couple other iterations, sort of punk type stuff and thrash type stuff. But we couldn't find a lineup that could stick. So it took us quite a while. It took us about 5 or 6 years to find the lineup we have now, which we've had for about a year. And it's been the best lineup yet. We gelled right away. Everyone's been on the same page. So we're now just released our second album.
All right. So that first EP, was that also released with this same lineup then?
Almost. So the bass player is our former bass player. So the bass player now did not play on our first EP.
Okay. So still 75% of the way there. That's still pretty much core, right? All right. Awesome. So I see that some of the members of this group come from different areas of the world and that you guys have different influences. So what has it been like crafting the sound of the Slime? Because I definitely hear a lot of those East Coast hardcore sounds mixed in with a lot of different things as well.
For sure. We all kind of, we all listen to different kinds of music. Basically, we would call ourselves an old school hardcore band, kind of a first wave hardcore band, but we have, elements of thrash and grindcore, and there's a lot of rock and roll and even rockabilly and garage kind of influences that we have as well.
Okay. Andrew, where do your influences come in?
Yeah, I think, just going back to that first EP that came out last year, as Derek said, like a lot of that was preset before me and Charles, our current bass player, came in, and some of that, I still think of as like our sound. But Derek was saying that all of us listen to quite different things. Rob, our guitar player, is much more into like crazy different types of metal that I don't even know about, and Charles, the bass player, is like knows all types of grindcore and mincecore and whatever the heck else that I don't even know about. And myself, I listen to everything from just kind of classic hardcore, classic rock, all types of weird ass music. And I'm not out there trying to be some death metal vocals or anything, so I need to do what works for me. And I think that's where we get a little bit of a blend of different things happening, because everybody brings something different to the table. And since we've really, the four of us, been working together and building new songs in the last year, I think it's really kind of congealed into our signature kind of sound, which you hear a lot on the new album.
Okay. So as you say that, how would you say that sound has developed and transitioned between EP1 and EP2 here, from Bitter Dream and Coming Soon to An Alley Near You?
Okay, I would just say, like, from the vocal side, a lot of that stuff on the first EP was like, when I joined the band, these guys already had a lot of those instrumentals down. It was like, okay, here, like when I first came to try out, it was like, here you go. Here's some songs instrumental. come up with it, what you want to put in there, and we'll go from there. Now everything on the new record pretty much is new, right? It's those riffs came about at jam sessions that all four of us were involved in. It wasn't riffs that came at a jam session from 5 years ago that just Derek and Rob were there, and then me and Chuck come in and get kind of bolted on. So it has definitely changed the way it sounds a little bit. I mean, it's not too far off or anything, but I think that changed the process and gives us more of what I call it, like a slime song. Like that's what I say, when we get one, it's like, okay, that sounds like a song we'd write or play.
Okay. And how about Derek? What's your opinion on that?
I agree. I think when me and Robert first got together, we had a fairly specific idea of what we wanted to do, which was kind of the sort of a reference to like the early 80s first wave hardcore sound of like Bad Brains and Negative Approach and Poison Idea and that sort of thing. I mean, we had some kind of crustier elements, heavier. We did some stuff that was tuned to B, and we were looking to be maybe partially a metal band. But we kind of went in a different direction when we found TD and Andy, because the way we all played together was kind of had a bit of a street vibe to it, maybe a little bit of a skate vibe to it. It was a lot more fun, less dark. The riffs are maybe, for lack of a better term, like somewhat uplifting at times. So that was a pretty big pivot for us, and we just settled right into it.
Nice. All right. So you mentioned how being able to jam together and otherwise helped the songwriting process. What was the differences in the recording processes between EP1 and EP2?
We went with a completely different studio and different producer. So it was fresh for everybody in that sense. We're kind of like almost a one-take band when we record. We do maybe 2 or 3 takes of each song in a recording session, and we always record live off the floor, just because we think that's the most conducive for the grimy style of rock and roll that we make. So.
Mm-hmm. Definitely fits that hardcore vibe.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. So, coming soon to an alley near you. Let's talk about some of these songs. Is Andy the chief lyric writer for these? Or...
Indeed.
Okay. Awesome. So let's get into the title track there. It definitely sounds like it's just about that. That good, slimy rock and roll vibe, getting together for those punk rock alley beers.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that one, like, it's funny that song has been the lead track on the EP, and a lot of folks like it, and we definitely enjoy playing it. And I find, and we will say this amongst ourselves, that kind of sticks out to us. It sounds a little different than our other our other usual modus operandi. It's more of like a street punk, like almost like a traditional style tune. And so when those guys were jamming that in our space, that's kind of just where the lyrics came from, like a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek, kind of trying to come up with some really punk shit, but also just reflecting on good times at shows, and I think something that everybody who likes this kind of music can relate to a little bit. So it was fun to try and put that down on the paper, and I think hopefully people are going to read those lyrics and think about times that they've had at the back of shows or wherever the heck else you are when you're a young kind of person into this music. So.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I think everybody remembers their introductory moments to their first shows, their first alley beers, their first, the first people they met at shows, their first mosh pit, all of those really good experiences that come with hardcore and rock and roll.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, so let's jump into a couple of the other tracks off of this album as well. Life of Agony. What is take us behind that track a bit?
I don't know, Derek, maybe you want to give a little background. I have a couple ideas, but
well, it's speaking of tongue in cheek. This was kind of one of us when we were coming up with this song. We were just jamming it out, and someone referred to it as the Life of Agony song, which is actually another band. I couldn't tell you where they're from or what they're about, but someone seemed to think that was the reference we were making, and which it was not. But we thought that was funny, so we started calling it the Life of Agony song. And it was not meant to stick, but it did stick. So, and now it also is applicable to the lyrics.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, how do the lyrics apply to the song then, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a fun one. Just kind of as per my usual way of doing things. We'll be in our practice space. Those guys will be working on something. I'll kind of be there listening and maybe like freestyling a bit on the mic, just yelling what comes into my head or whatever. And yeah, we started on that whole Life of Agony, doing a call and response thing between me and Charles, me and CD, our bass player. And then, based on those little snippets, I'll take that home and, come up with some other bars to fill it out. Thing I like about Life of Agony, it's got a good flow actually in the first verse. Like it's very like it's almost like I'm rapping over the first verse, which I like to do. But then it turns into like the hardcore like call and response thing. So yeah, it's a little cheesy, but I think it's actually a pretty fun one. And I don't know if we've done it live too much. So I'm looking forward to playing that one a bit more live.
Mm-hmm. When that opportunity returns again.
Yeah, no doubt.
If you only knew the agonies I have spared you and the world. If you only knew the agonies I have endured in your behalf. Did you know? Something follows you, a shadow on your life. Mistakes you made, you can't correct them now. Life of agony. 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 Live it now. Block out the memories of what you've done. Shelter inside who you have become. Something follows you around on your neck. The day it has got who you can correct. Live of agony. Live of agony. Live of agony. Live of agony. Life of agony. We're gonna live it now. Mistakes you made, we can't correct them. You live it now. You live it now. Mistakes you made, we can't correct them. You live it now. You live it now. Life of agony.
The Desert Tiger Podcast.
Yeah, no doubt for sure. All right, so you mentioned that there was a different producer on this album. So who helped bring the album to life in the studio, and who helped with the artwork of the album? Because that is so sick.
Yeah, our guy who did our artwork is called Breath of Fresh Air Design. And he's just kind of a buddy of ours. He also plays in a local punk band, so we've played with him before. and he was just a natural choice.
Yeah.
Kind of understood what we were going for. We wanted neon colors, and we wanted it to be somewhat of an 80s reference. We wanted it to be like dark, but also somewhat cartoonish, which is kind of how you describe our music in a lot of ways.
For sure, for sure. Like definitely having a lot of fun with it, like a lot of heaviness to it, but also having a good time. So, one thing that I actually have to ask, the slime, is that an uh-oh thing, or like where does that name come from?
What's uh-oh?
Like the TV show that used to be on YTV.
The one with the Punisher, Derek. Remember we did the post?
Oh, yes.
That show's called Uh-Oh.
Now,
Derek never even heard of that. I had to tell him about that to make a promo.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because when I saw the promo, I was like, oh, wow. If this is named after the 90s, like, kids game show, that is amazing. So where does the name come from then?
It was not a reference to that until much later. Happy to call it a reference to that now if that's what works in the context. But it was kind of just meant as to be kind of a pliable name. So like you kind of use the name however you want. It could mean a bunch of things. Like we have a bit of sort of horror movie imagery that we use to promote the band. So could be like an amorphic monster that eats people, eats cities, or it could be it could be like that viscous feeling on your skin after like a really dirty rainfall when it's really smoggy out. Could be a visit from a creepy uncle.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
You take it, use it how you need to use it.
Oh, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. I love it. I love it. So, what are the plans for the future of this EP coming soon to an alley near you? Are you guys working on any music videos, maybe like a live stream performance since you can't do like a live show with the crowd at the moment?
We got some videos sort of being worked on slowly but surely that we'll throw up eventually just to keep people from getting bored. But yeah, we do have material for a new album, probably half done another album.
Oh, dang.
We don't know when we'll release that. We currently aren't practicing for obvious reasons.
For sure.
Depending on how things in the world play out, we'll get a second record going as soon as possible, like spring or summer, I would guess.
That's one thing about this is it probably makes live off the floor much more difficult.
Yeah. Totally.
All right. So you also mentioned the possibility of an upcoming EP as well. So lots of things going on for the future of the band here. Lots of excitement going.
For sure.
Sick. I love it. So one thing I definitely want to know too is when you guys aren't jamming it out, recording live off the floor, getting the sliminess in the studio, what do you guys do regularly in your lives? What are your other hobbies?
Derek's got a dog.
I'm looking after my puppy a lot. Yeah, there's that. And he has a job.
Yeah.
Nice.
I work. Well, you know what? I sing in the band, but I play, on my own. I play a lot of music, and we're just pretty average dudes. And what the hell kind of hobbies has anyone had this year?
I guess
you can't do shit.
Totally.
You can't go to show. So it's kind of hard to say. What do we like? What do we do ensemble? What do we do together? I mean, we all like horror movies, that's for sure. I think that would be like one thing that, like, Derek is probably the expert, the old head, and then knows like the most obscure shit, and then I'm always borrowing stuff from him, and we're slowly educating young CD, the bass player, on some of the classics of horror that he doesn't know. I mean, yeah, I guess we're into that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we like to party.
Yeah, we like to party too.
Partying is always good. Partying is always good. So you mentioned the horror movies and that you're teaching CD a little bit more about the horror world. So I'm someone who's a little new to this scene as well. So what are some of those horror classics you maybe recommend to someone who's just getting into the genre, maybe a little inexperienced in the horror world?
That's tough. I would want to know what age the person is, but generally anywhere from like the silent era of horror leading all the way up to the 80s. And generally speaking, low budget stuff tends to be favorable for me. The B movies, the kind of the more absurd side of horror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the 70s, like the cheesiness too. I mean, like, listen, for Charles, when we were talking about this, like in October, right, or whatever, trying to recommend some stuff. He'd never seen The Thing, John Carpenter, so like that's kind of like a no-brainer. And that one actually, I like that one for anybody who wants to, like, because that one, you know, there's like this disgust level that is also like pertinent for our music, right? So it fits in there, you know what I'm saying? So
All right, sick. I actually don't even know if I've seen that one either, and I'm 30 years old, so I've got to get on my horror game apparently.
Yep.
All right, awesome. All right, gentlemen. So I have one last question for you, but before I ask it, where can the listeners of the podcast find out more about you and the slime?
So you can go to the slimehardcore.com. That's our website.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can find us on the main streaming services, including Spotify. You can find our Instagram at the Slime Hardcore.
Sick. And you can also find their music on Bandcamp if you want to pick it up. Support them for real, the old school way as much as possible.
Yeah. I think our third album, definitely the plan is to press it to vinyl, so it won't just be exclusively a digital release this time.
Okay. Sick. Glad to hear that for all those who love those record players. And I know there's a lot of those people in the hardcore rock and roll world who do love that. So that's exciting news. But one thing I want to know is, now that the Slime's been around for about 2 years, Andy's been in the band for about one and a half, how has the Slime helped you grow as people, or how has the Slime helped you learn more about yourself as individuals?
I mean, for me, I'll just say, you know, I like to yell. So really nice to just get together with these guys once a week. I mean, it's been a while. Like, it's nice to see Derek's face today because we haven't actually seen each other because of the la pandemie or whatever. So it's good to yell, and you know what? It's dope to be back in like some weird ass venues and shit that, like, you know, in Toronto, it's a big city. Every weekend, like, I'm talking normal here, every weekend there's so many shows going on. Sometimes, you know, you're just at like the top thing, but the nice thing about playing with the band that's like kind of up and coming and not too many folks know of us yet is like, we're really in like these scummy joints that really remind me of like when I was a fucking teenager and like punk shows only happened at like Legion halls and stuff. And so it's fun to just get out and bring a music that is varied and people are weirded out by it. But then, you know, people that you don't expect are going to like it. So that's the best thing about it.
Sick. And Derek, how about you?
What have I learned? I'd say I've learned the value of cooperation and compromise. Sounds kind of childish, but you know, those are the two most important things when it comes to doing an artistic project where there's a bunch of egos to consider.
No, I can understand that for sure. It's group projects are great because you essentially, you think that you should be able to delineate the work and everybody should be able to do everything. But that's also the other thing about group projects that we all learn in school is sometimes not everybody wants to do that. So when you have a group that is willing to put in the work together, and that you all have like the chemistry to do so, that's magic.
Totally. And it's not easy to find.
Absolutely. It definitely is not. All right, boys. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join me today to take us a little bit behind the slime, the transition between Bitter Dream and coming soon to an alley near you. I'm super excited to see what the future brings with a third EP. Like I said, well, just thank you for joining me here today.
Thanks, Colton. Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Just before we go, I just want a quick shout out for Nick and Scott at Schoolhouse Studios. We didn't mention it, out in Dundas, who really helped us a lot with the last record, and it was a pretty cool environment. So would be remiss not to mention those guys. So, but thanks for your time, Colton. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much, man. Take care.
The Desert Tiger Podcast.